So, welcome to our today's KCS user group meeting. Normally, we keep this in German, but since we have an international speaker today and some international people joining us, we keep this on English here. My name is Kai Altenfelder. I'm the managing partner of pa-KCS. So we are a provider of KCS services, and knowledge-centered services is one of our main consultancy focuses. And today we have with us Sariel Moshe from xFind, who is going to tell us a little bit about their solution, the Contextual Intelligence, and how it can help to implement, to introduce a KCS into your organization. So now I've mentioned a couple of times KCS. Maybe I should explain first what KCS is all about. So KCS is a knowledge management methodology that's often used in service organizations. And this is, like I said, this is what we do. I've said already, keep this short here, we are a small consultancy shop in Germany. We provide more or less organizational change development. Together with our customers, we help them to develop strategies, business models, focus on innovation. We help them to change the organization with regards to tools, processes, and interfaces. And one of the things, or the majority of the assignments we have today, are around service management and knowledge management and services. So we are based out of Hanover in the northern parts of Germany. We have customers in all the German-speaking countries and partly in other countries as well. And we are one of the few, I think it's just three worldwide, three KCS aligned services providers. So the consultancies where you as a customer can go to and say, tell me anything about KCS from A to Z, from the assessment, from design workshop to practices workshops to training to implementation and so on. So this is what we basically do. So when we talk about KCS, what is it? KCS is the acronym for knowledge-centered services. Like I said, it's a methodology to help organizations to leverage their existing organizational knowledge. So what we do as an organization, what do our members or employees in our service organization, what do they know about our products, about services, and how can we leverage this to help our customers to become more productive? So when you say it's a methodology, that means that we try to make reuse of existing knowledge. So we don't want to create new articles every day. So we want to make sure that we can use that what's already there. And therefore we of course have to search what's already there. So you see this here. Now we want to integrate the reuse, improvement, and only if it doesn't exist, the creation of knowledge into our problem-solving processes. So whenever a customer calls in, whenever we see an email or ticket or case or however you name it, we want to help our customers become productive again and make sure that we do not reinvent the wheel every day. So make sure that we use that what's already there. You see the graph here on the right-hand side that shows the so-called KCSW process. We have two sides. We have the solve loop on the right-hand side, the evolve loop on the left-hand side. And the 8 things we see here are the so-called practices. And the 4 on the right-hand side, the solve loop, this is what our knowledge workers, that's how we call them, the service agents, maybe in your world. So the knowledge workers, they perform these 8 practices and the 4 practices in special. So we want them to capture the knowledge. We want them to structure it in a certain way so that we can find it again, that we can use it and make sure that everybody understands what's in it. We want to reuse it. That's what I said. And we want to improve the existing knowledge on a daily, on a recurring basis. Therefore, we try to change or to influence the corporate culture. We want to reward learning and sharing and working together, solving customers' issues. And how is it working? Like just said, we have a solve loop on the right-hand side. So we want our knowledge workers to write documentation while they are working on customer issues. So just imagine you're a support agent, you're a support worker in a support organization. You would open a case in your ticket system, in your CM system, and you would search the knowledge base for the search terms that your customers just told you. So we have an issue here, we have a problem with, for instance, with printing or whatever it is. Now we have a problem. So we search the knowledge base. And if you found nothing in this knowledge base, you would have to solve this problem on your own. You would have to create a solution. Afterwards, you can write an article of it, add it to the knowledge base, and then the case is closed and you're done. But just imagine you would find something which is already there. So you can save all the work on the right-hand side, because something that is there, you only have to check, is this okay? Is this good? Is this actually the solution for my customer's problem? So if you say, yeah, this is what I found is good to solve our customer's problem, you can use this article, send it to the customer, and then be able to solve the problem and close the case. If you look at the found article, say, oh, it's not good, maybe it's something is missing there, it's not current, some recent new information is missing from it, you would have to modify it. Yeah, you found an article, you found it's not good enough to solve the customer's problem, so you would modify it right away, then use it and send it to the customer, and then close the case. So remember the right-hand side, the practices in the solve group, we said we want to capture and structure, we want to reuse and improve. So these in our little workflow here are the areas where we capture, structure information, the things we've learned from our customers, learned in solving the problems, where we can reuse it and where we actually can improve it. Since it is a methodology, we say the methodology itself is tool agnostic. We don't care. We as a consultant do not care which tool, which CM system, which ticket system you use. But when you use a system, our requirement is that the system brings you search results at the speed of conversation, because that is a scenario where our knowledge workers are in. They are on the phone, they're talking to customers in real life situations, and they need fast, good, relevant information. So that's the reason why we as a KCS service provider or consultants provider are interested in technology that solves this and helps to support our processes. And that's why we're here together with Sariel from xFind, and so interested in hearing what you have to tell us and how your solution can solve this situation that we just described. Sorry, it's up to you.
Let me just let me know you're seeing the correct screen.
We do.
I'll take it away. So thank you, Kai, for that opening, and hi to everyone. And what I'd like to present today is a combination of two elements. The first is really xFind's innovative approach to enterprise knowledge, and the second is how this comes into play in the day-to-day of support teams, specifically in the context of the KCS methodology that Kai was just talking about. And the main takeaway I want us to get from this session is how, with the help of new technology developed in the field of search specifically, we can really reimagine the entire support process and support knowledge process specifically. So let's talk about a few of the main techniques that the KCS methodology brings up, and arguably, in my eyes at least, these are the most important ones. And the reason is because these are the ones that in the day-to-day support agents actually have to carry out, and the entire process is really dependent on these happening as they should. Right. So the first one is capture knowledge in the moment. That's like maybe the most basic element, which is if you don't have knowledge, make sure to create that knowledge and make sure to create it based on what's happening in the case at the moment. The second is reuse. And here we have two elements, one of which is going to be the main topic of today, and that is search early, search often. Which in KCS terms means make sure you know if there's relevant knowledge out there before you start creating new knowledge. And the second is linked to case. So we want to, if we have relevant knowledge, we want to make sure we connect it to the case, and that way other people are aware of what knowledge helped solve which types of issues. And then the third element is improving, right? So we want a constant improvement on the knowledge. We don't want it to stay static. And that's where we have flag it or fix it. So if you come across a knowledge item that is relevant to the case, but you see that it is missing some information or could be improved, make sure to do that by yourself. That's a big important part of the methodology. But, and this is where a real but comes in, it's a struggle, right? And why is it a struggle? I think this is a very crucial point. Going back to that last slide, Kai, that you showed us, the main intersection in the whole process is search or find, rather, right? That's where you know if there's relevant knowledge out there or not. That's where you can really start carrying out the entire thing. And finding is not easy, specifically not in the enterprise, specifically not in the support use case. And we'll get into that, why that is and what can be done about it. The second, I would say, struggle is fixing or updating knowledge. It's not always easy to capture that knowledge and to remember in real time to flag it, especially not if you're talking about a separate knowledge base that isn't in most cases, the knowledge base is not part of the help desk. So you're working on two different systems at the same time. And the third is detecting gaps. So how to know in real time and overall if or if not there is relevant knowledge to this case, and that has to do with search, but it has to do with additional elements as well. And this is where I want to show how xFind really can turn all these struggles, make them much more simple in the day-to-day work of the support agents, the support team, and the support manager. So first of all, why is finding so hard? Why is that an issue? Why is that a struggle? So this is workflow is based on a TSIA survey. It was ran a few years ago. And what's striking here is the amount of time that agents are spending on searching for information as part of the support case solution. 40% of their time is being spent on search. So why is that? Why is it taking them so long to find relevant information? And again, we said this is a crucial part in the whole KCS methodology as well. So in general, current search technologies are built for the internet. The idea of a keyword-based search is based on the idea, A, that we're searching for a very specific piece of information, and B, that we can train the system on millions of similar questions in order to find a very specific item. By the way, since it's been in the news for a few months now, if we talk about GPT in essence is pretty much the exact same thing, right? It's not searching for items, it's generating text, but it's generating text based on models of how to build certain text that it learned from billions of text items over the internet, right? So it's not really built in essence for the types of issues that support agents have in their day-to-day, which are very specific, very granular, and taken out of a very specific corpus of knowledge. Going back to the searches, translating the types of descriptions of issues, especially in B2B, right? But not only, the types of description of issues that support agents are facing, translating that into keyword queries is very complicated. It's not an easy process, and it's very prone to inconsistencies and to missing information, right? It's prone to creating blind spots. And of course, when you're doing that across 7 to 13 different sources, it's even worse, right? There's even more inconsistencies, even more blind spots involved. Now, another part of the journey, it's not noted in this workflow, but it's an important element to note, is the metadata tagging. So for managers to keep up, to be on top of what are the issues that are coming in, and this is part of the evolve. So for those who are familiar with KCS, you have the solve element and the evolve part. So this is more for the evolve to see what's going on overall over time in the cases and in the knowledge created. You want to be able to detect if there are certain knowledge gaps. Today, managers are mainly dependent on agents tagging metadata to items, whether it's tagging the knowledge items to cases or other elements of metadata. And again, this is a very manual process, and it's very prone to inconsistencies. It's very prone to creating blind spots that shouldn't be there in the first place. And this whole issue really is very costly. It's costly both in terms of knowledge. So you're not finding the relevant knowledge you need. That, of course, it's bad for KCS. It's even worse for resolution times and for escalation elements. You're not knowing about similar solutions that were out there, whether it's a case or a knowledge item, right? So you're missing out on those. And you're recreating. A lot of times, this is another issue, right? That's very big, is recreating solutions. If you're recreating multiple knowledge items on the same issue, that's not good for the health of your knowledge base, and it's not good for the use of your customers. And again, you're now aware of these knowledge gaps, right? You're missing out on these knowledge gaps. You're not creating the knowledge you should be, but you are creating knowledge that's already there. So these are a number of issues that all come back to the fact that finding information is a very problematic process today for support teams. So what does xFind do with this? At the basic level, xFind is built as a contextual intelligence platform. What do we mean by that? xFind is here to remove those blind spots from the knowledge and the customer interactions by making sure that the specific knowledge you need reaches you automatically into the case, and the insights reach the manager automatically. They're delivered to them automatically. And this comes to play in 3 elements. So first of all is uncovering in general what are the issues that your customers are coming in with. That's the insight side of it. Delivering the knowledge to your agents without requiring a search. That's the support side. But then these really translate at the end of the day into better business, right? If you have the knowledge in place to serve your customers, if you have the insights of what your customers are asking you, you can translate that into better growth, better serving your customers, and growing your customer base. And what does this all rest upon? And when we go over to the demo, we'll see it with our own eyes. But just to give an explanation of the back end of things. So what xFind is doing, and this is very different from existing search solutions, is it's analyzing the entire case as an input, as a query. And how is it doing that? So there's a lot of rich information in a support case. So you have the subject, you have the description, you have the back and forth emails or chats, you have all the metadata fields. That's a lot of information that xFind has to read through and analyze through with multiple different layers of models. So what xFind is doing is it's running a bunch of language models, a bunch of semantic models, and a few others at the same time on the same information. And all these models are able to retrieve, each one of them retrieves certain items that are relevant to this context. And then what xFind knows to do is combine all these lists of all these different models into one list of very specific results that are relevant to this context. And it does it totally automatically. And that's how it is much more precise than keyword searching, which is taking only a very specific element into account from the case. So that is the basis of the breakthrough that xFind is doing here. Is it's really analyzing thousands of words rather than just a few keywords, which is the way support agents mainly work today. And this it comes into play into three different solutions that xFind is offering today. So the first is what we call Explore, which is the knowledge discovery on the agent side. The second is Extend, which is the insight discovery, or what we call trend analytics for the manager side. And the third is Experience, which is enabling description-based searches for the customers in the customer portal side. I'll be in the demo I'll be discussing specifically explore and extend those two sides of things. But just to explain what we're seeing here is xFind is an engine that knows to pull data from all the different sources, all the different knowledge sources that the support team uses. And this is really across many different types of sources. So from, of course, Zendesk and Salesforce as the help desk themselves, past cases. You have knowledge sources like Confluence or SharePoint or Salesforce Knowledge or Guru. And then you have the really dynamic systems like Jira, Slack. All these systems are knowledge sources that xFind can use to pull and then to present automatically both knowledge to the agent and insights to the manager based on our engine. This is basically what xFind is coming to do, and I think at this point it makes sense to move over to a demo and see how this comes into play in the day-to-day.
Sorry, may I ask a question in between?
Sure.
So, great insight so far. If you talk about all the different enterprise knowledge sources like Zendesk, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Slack, and so on, they would claim, I bet, we have existing search solutions. So why should I use your solution? Why is yours better? Where's yours better? Why not use the built-in search capability?
So that is a great question. There are two main elements to the answer. The first is the more technical one, which is the federated search element, right? At the end of the day, in reality, companies today have multiple different knowledge sources, which are all relevant to finding relevant information to solve the case, right? And it is true that KCS does focus on the knowledge base side of things, but still there is a lot of additional relevant knowledge that's floating out there that could be very useful to understand the context and to understand additional information of how to solve this case as efficiently as possible. I think past cases are a good example of that. In addition to them helping, KCS become better, because if you found a past case that wasn't related to for some reason in KCS, you want to add that in as well into your knowledge base. So I think that's one answer. I think the second answer though is more important here, and that is again the approach of how do we think of search in general. Today, Salesforce, Zendesk, all the help desk systems they do have some element of automatic retrieval, but in most cases, it is still based on legacy technology that's very keyword based. So they may be running one or two language models trying to find keywords in the subject or maybe in the description when they're retrieving results. But in real life, that it doesn't cut it, right? So
okay.
It's just not precise enough, and that's where xFind is really changing the game in achieving precision out of the box. And that is maybe another note that I didn't bring up here, that xFind is precise out of the box. Our models do not require training in order to be precise, and they've been benchmarked against multiple different leading search solutions in the market, and we're between 2 to 5 times more precise out of the box than what we currently have in the market. So it's a different ball game. It's not even close in the level of precision that xFind can offer to what existing search solutions, even those in the help desks themselves.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
If there are any other questions at the moment, and if not, I think we can move over to the demo. So let's really have a look at what this looks like. So what we're seeing in front of us is a support case in Salesforce. And again, just to recap the process for a KCS implementing support team, right? What would be the process without xFind? So a case like this comes in, and it's a data discrepancy issue, a real case, by the way. And it looks like this, right? It's a very long description, pretty complex type of issue. And at this moment, what the agent is doing is they're trying to figure out what search terms I should be, how can I translate this into the find element, right? Into the search terms that will bring me the relevant information. And then they'll go say to Confluence, which is their knowledge base maybe, and they'll run a search in Confluence, and that search, maybe something like YouTube discrepancy. And what does that search bring up? It brings up 43 results, right? And the agent doesn't know if any of these are actually relevant to the context of the case. They have to start going over them. Confluence has no idea what the case is about. And this is really inefficient, both in the time element that we noted earlier, how much time it takes to run these searches across all the different sources, but it's also really inefficient in the sense of, especially if you're implementing KCS, you have knowledge items in place. You want to make sure the agent reaches those knowledge items, but this is not making sure that's happening. And going back to the case with xFind, the process is totally different. So if I'll reopen that same case, so we're going into the same case, and what xFind is doing, and xFind is the app here on the right-hand side. It's a Salesforce native app. We have a similar app in the Zendesk marketplace as well. What it's doing right now is it was reading through all the information in the case. So the subject, the description, all the emails back and forth. If there's chats, it could be chats. It's reading all that information and then analyzing it, as I said, on multiple different levels, aggregating all the relevant results, the results that might be relevant from all the different sources, and then presenting them to the user. As you can see here, there's 3 specific Confluence articles that are actually relevant to this context. And that's what xFind is telling the user. Here are 3 specific items that you could use in order to solve this case. And again, going back to KCS, xFind wouldn't have found anything that's relevant. That's what it would have told the user. And this is crucial for KCS, is we didn't find anything. There's nothing out there that's currently written on this issue. Go ahead and write something. Now, xFind is not only retrieving the results as a list of items. xFind presents the specific part or snippet of the item to the user so they know why this is relevant to the context and how they can use it in order to help them. Now, that's one element of the process, but here we get to the link to the case and to the flag it or fix it, right? And that's where a lot of times, again, because there's, these systems are separate from one another. So many times it's a help desk, and then there's a knowledge base, and it's 2 separate systems. So that whole process becomes very clunky. And what we're aiming to do at xFind is make it much easier. So the attach to case is just a click, right? You click this button, and then it's attached to the case, and that's it. And then the flag it or fix it is, we're also bringing a real change here, which is, well, first of all, you can read the entire item that we provided in Salesforce. You don't need to open any other source in order to read through it. You can read the entire thing over here. And then if anything comes up, if any issue comes up, all you need to do is press the flag button, right? If you're seeing that there's any fix or update that is required to this item, you press the flag button. That's it. The relevant people, if it's the knowledge coach or whoever it is who needs to take it from there, they're notified, and you can write, what is the fix that's required here. You can just write it straight into here. So this is missing this element, right? Enter, and you're done. Yeah, you wrote what the fix is required. All the other users on this case will see that this is noted later on, and we'll get to this later. The managers are notified as well. So really, the entire process is becoming much simpler for the day-to-day of the support agents in order to carry out KCS. And of course, just to bring this home, the critical part here is the fact that the knowledge reached the users when they needed it, the actual relevant knowledge, right? Because if they wouldn't have found this knowledge, this whole process wouldn't have started from the beginning, right? The fact that it's coming to them automatically enables this whole process to really become much more efficient, attaching to case, flagging and fixing, etc.
So now you showed us the flagging element. Suppose I have the right role, being a publisher or contributor, so I'm allowed to fix it right away. How would I do that?
So that still will require to go to the original knowledge base and do that over there. But what you have here is a dashboard that is enabling you to follow all these flags and fixes, right? So there's two elements to this dashboard. I'll start out with the top element, which is the knowledge updates. So again, the agent just flagged or fixed, flagged or noted the required fix to the issue. That appears right here for everyone who's relevant, who has the access to run the fix, and they can immediately go to that item, open it up, and fix whatever's required. So again, it's closing the circle of how each person in the process knows what needs to happen. Another element here, which I can touch on shortly, is more relevant to the portal side of things. So you want to know what your customers are asking in the self-service side and the customer portal. So you have here a list of all the top queries and then all the top articles that are being used. And in addition to that, we can show also what articles, of course, are not being used. But that's more of a technical element, I would say. And now, in the time we have left, I would like to touch upon another important element, and this is the manager insights. And this, though it doesn't have to do necessarily with the day-to-day of KCS, but I do think it is a crucial element in enabling the evolvement of knowledge over time, which is also a big element in KCS. And so this is what we call the trend analytics. And what we're seeing here, well, again, just to describe the beginning, is today managers are, and I actually just ran a poll on this on LinkedIn, and I think above 90% of the respondents agreed with this, with what I'm going to say, which is today managers are almost solely dependent on agents tagging metadata. So like what product we're talking about, what issue we're talking about, what element of the system we're talking about. They're totally dependent on agents doing that manually. Now, again, the issue with manual tagging like that is that it's very inconsistent. You have across hundreds of agents, some might not be aware of what tags are out there. The tags are not updated as fast as the issues come in. So you don't really get a granular enough understanding of what issues are out there. And what that means is that if in the day-to-day of agents, there becomes a gap between the types of issues and the knowledge being created, you don't really have a way to notice that gap and to fix it. So what xFind is doing here is, because we're already analyzing these cases on a very granular level using many different language models, we're able to aggregate these cases over time based on the similarity of issues in the case. So just as an example here, so we have a lot of different clusters of tickets here. So let's go to the one right over here. This is just to explain. This is data from real data, based on real data from one of our customers, a cybersecurity company. You may recall that about a year ago there was a big vulnerability that came out named
Log4j. We've seen that.
And of course, for cybersecurity companies, that means automatically a flood of cases coming in, right? Asking about this issue. And that's that big pink circle on the top right corner. And what xFind is able to do is to aggregate all those cases together, but not only based on the log4j term, because as we all know, customers can describe the same issue in very, very different ways, right? And this is just an example, but even a simple password issue can be described in probably 10 different ways, right? xFind is able to do those connections. So you have log4j, but then you also have the CVE name, for example, and xFind automatically does these connections. So that's really the game changer here, is that the manager does not need to notify what keywords they're looking for, or how to cluster these items, or how to tag them. It's all happening totally automatically based on xFind's analysis of all these incoming cases. So now, with a click of a button, I can immediately see all the relevant cases, having to do with this issue, all the relevant phrases having to do with this issue, and then the next obvious step is to see, do I have any relevant knowledge items out there? And this is granted, it's missing in this dashboard, but this is of course something that xFind is able to do, is immediately run and check, are there any knowledge items out there that are mapped to this cluster? And if not, why not? And we should be creating relevant knowledge out there. But it doesn't end there, because in addition, and this doesn't have to do so much with KCS, but it is something that is crucial for customer support teams. Customer support teams in general today are still considered cost centers, which it really does not make any sense at all when you think about the fact that they're the teams that are most in touch with customers, right? They have the most customer interactions of the entire company. If anyone knows what customers want in an enterprise company, it's customer support, right? And where's all that knowledge currently sitting? In all your cases, right? And when xFind comes and aggregates these cases, it's pretty much giving you a map, a very detailed map of what your customers are asking you, right? And this doesn't only translate into knowledge, this translates into what you should go tell your product team they should be improving, right? If a certain bug comes in, xFind alerts you about, there's a flood of cases about this bug coming in, in the past day. The first thing you need to do is go to your product team and tell them, listen, we need to fix this as soon as possible, right? This is really bugging our customers. But it doesn't only end there, because the next thing you should be doing is being proactive about it and telling all the other customers who should be having this bug, right? Who have this relevant product release, for example, listen, we're aware that you have this bug, right? So, you don't have to send in a case, we're fixing it already. And it goes even further, because one of the main KCS elements is alignment, right? Alignment between support and the strategy of the company and where the company is heading. That's one of the key elements that KCS is trying to enable support teams. Now, where is the company heading? The number one thing, especially in this market today, but it's true all the time, is growth, right? You want to avoid churn and find growth opportunities. So again, going back to this map that xFind is handing you, what does this tell you, right? If customers are coming in again and again with certain questions, that's an upsell opportunity, right? They want this to happen in your product. If on the other end, if a certain issue is coming up again and again, but some customers who should be complaining about it are not, that should be a red flag, because that means they may have given up on your system and they're going to search elsewhere. So really, this map that xFind enables with using trend analytics is an amazing tool for the support team across all the elements that the support team is really trying to do in giving both the support team and the support managers insight into how they can improve their processes over time. So just to sum it up, and maybe I'll go back to here. Just to sum it all up, xFind really is our main focus is to remove blind spots from the support team's day-to-day process, and by doing that, by making sure the relevant knowledge and insights reaches the relevant support agents and support managers in real time in the day-to-day, really enabling the entire team to stop being reactive and to start being much more proactive, whether it's in knowledge creation and in many other things as well. So that's xFind, and thank you again for this opportunity to present. And of course, if you have any other questions, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sariel. So from what I've seen, maybe just tell me if I'm right or wrong. So what I've seen is that the manual work of doing all the synonyms and finding the synonyms and maintaining them, this is definitely something that xFind is taking care of. So by just looking at the data and looking all the different sources of knowledge you have to make sure that if it's called this way or if it's called that way, that you actually know this is the same issue. Now we're talking about the same things here. And like you said, tagging and manual tagging requires a lot of manual work. So this definitely would be a relief for many organizations. The second part I've seen is that this spotting the gaps immediately and not doing the analysis. As you know, from KCS, we talk of the role of the KDE, the knowledge domain expert. They do this on a manual basis in many cases. So sometimes based on tools, but still it's a lot of work that people have to do to go through all of the articles you have, to look through them, to look how many times have this article been used to solve an issue, and so on and so on, and then to see, are we having any spots, any blind spots within our decision tree, to actually make sure that we have, okay, this is something here, we need additional articles to make sure that when anybody is asking for this, we actually can lead them to that. So this is what I understand is where your solution helps as well. Is that true?
Yes, that is exactly correct. Again, out of the box, xFind knows to do that synonym aggregation and the knowledge gap detection. So to figure out, do we have multiple different knowledge items that are mapping to the same issue, or are we missing at all? So we're not having any articles on this issue.
So what I find very impressive when you said is that this tool does not need to be trained once you decide to install it. I would say, off of my head, I know of a couple of customers who would ask, wow, can you show me that? Because all the other vendors, they said, yes, we can do this, we can do a pilot with you, then we need some time to go through all your data sources and then index them and then come up with ideas. So how is it? How can you say we don't zero training time for algorithms because we did it in a different way? So how does that work?
So that's a great question again. So basically, so xFind was built from the bottom up to be that robust and to be at the same time domain agnostic, but to be domain adaptable very easily. So that's the keyword is domain adaptation. How do we do that? Basically, language models are a probability element, right? And the more different models that you can run on the same, and maybe I'm going to make this sound a bit easy, but it really isn't to develop this type of solution. But the more different language models you run in the same specific knowledge corpus of a company, the more you understand the probability of certain elements appearing and certain elements being relevant to other elements. And what xFind is doing is it's running tens of these at the same time on a very specific piece of text, a case. So what that enables us is to find, there's, again, going back to the case, there's a lot of clues in a support case that can enable you to if you're modeling it correctly and you're using enough different angles of analysis at the same time, there's enough clues there to figure out what other items are out there that could be relevant. And this is coming to, instead of trying to train one specific model or a few very specific models to do that, and that training requires a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of data points. xFind, by changing around the equation and going for multiple different models, but untrained, is able to achieve much, actually it's not even the same result, it's much better results than the trained solutions. So I hope that was clear in explaining what exactly the difference here that enables us to do this.
Yeah, sure. I have two more questions if I'm allowed, and maybe the others have as well. So the first one would be, you're talking a different platform. So what would be your preferred platform to connect with, or is there any limitations in connecting any platform? I've seen, without just overemphasizing, I've seen Salesforce, I've seen Zendesk, maybe ServiceNow. Is it literally every platform you can connect, or are there any limitations yet?
So as a knowledge source, we don't have any limitations. Any textual knowledge source we can connect to and we can retrieve information from. At the moment, we integrate with two help desks, which are Salesforce and Zendesk.
Okay.
That being said, we do have plans in the coming quarter to add on a web application, an xFind web application, which will be able to connect to any help desk. So basically, the idea will be that rather than an app sitting on the layout of the help desk itself, there'll be a separate web application that will be updating automatically between each item that you move through. And then it won't be only the help desk, it will actually be any source that you move through. So I imagine that you open an item in ServiceNow, a case, and xFind will update, the relevant results to that case. Then you move over to a Jira bug, xFind will update the relevant results to that Jira bug, and so on and so forth across all the different sources in that a support agent or any other worker actually in the enterprise goes into on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's where we're heading.
Yeah. So thanks. And the second and my last question would be, how would a typical project look for you? So this is probably nothing you can just buy off the shelf and switch on. So is there some kind of introduction, connection? Does it need to be customized? How does it look like?
Sure. So the process on the customer side is very, very simple. Basically, in order to get running, all we need is a mapping of what knowledge sources we're talking about to install our app and access to the relevant knowledge sources, API access. Once we have those three elements in place, we're good to go. We index the data, which usually takes us about a week, and the system's up and running. So the onboarding process on the customer's side is very, very simple. It's really as simple as that.
Okay, cool. Thank you. How about the others? Petra or Tamara, you have questions?
I'm not sure if this question goes too far into matters you shouldn't disclose for like competition reasons, but with the consortium, we've had the discussion or the question come up with like the hit rate that those models have, right? Like others, like obviously they've tried different variations, also language model based, and some of them are saying like, okay, so we have a hit rate of 30% if it's supporting our customers on the portal, right? Which is like, I would say the most classic use case where you want to see that, you know, the search engine finds the right content. So can you tell us where you roughly on average land with that, how your model fit is? If you can't for competitive reasons, I understand.
Just to make sure I understood the question, by hit rate, you mean the precision of the models and retrieving
Basically,
relevant items? So what we've seen, again, so benchmarking our system against other systems in the market. This is a benchmark that was run by one of our customers, actually. So we're between 2 to 5 times more precise than other solutions in the market. And what we've seen is that we can consistently achieve between 70 to 80% precision out of the box when installed on a new customer, with precision being do we retrieve the relevant result in the top 3 results that we provide to the user. Yeah, so as I said, xFind, it's a game changer on that level as well. It's just very, very precise out of the box when implemented by new customers.
That's honestly like pretty impressive. Like, I mean, anything that's like way further up, like if you told me something about like, oh, we have like 95%, I would have been worried about overfitting. Like,
yeah.
And like, to be honest, like 70% is like I'm just trying to figure out like what is a benchmark for, you know, a good hit rate, because as you know, I heard 30%. It feels like there's room for improvement there, right? But you know, how far can you push it without going into overfitting mode? And so seeing that there's something out there with a 70% fit, and if it works in different domains, right, that would mean that it isn't overfitted to a very specific region, right? So that puts it in a pretty good spot. Also, it's very nice to know that this is something like to aim for, and that it is possible, right? Because, you know, if you hear others say, oh yeah, we're doing that, and they're like, okay, what's your hit rate? Yeah, we're at 35%. That's a different kind of conversation I'm going to have when I'm going to recommend, you know, oh, have you heard of them? Have you heard of xFind? If they say, oh yeah, we're at like 72, okay, it's probably not as interesting to you. You've obviously done a good job already, right? But to just know who's going to be interested in it. And as far as I've seen it so far, a lot of people are on the way lower side.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Petra, any questions?
Yeah, I have one question, and I may have missed the point because I had to look into an email during the call. Apologies for that. I was wondering how much of it is language dependent.
Right.
Because it's obviously all we see and we hear is English, and looking at international markets. I'm just curious what the impact is and in what environments this seems fit, and what happens if you have a database where there's different language content.
Sure. So we've actually tested xFind on multiple different languages. It actually works well on Hebrew as well. So not only European languages. We do have customers at the moment with German and Spanish information items, and it's working well for that as well. So it really, xFind, again, going back to the basic idea of how we built the models, is very robust, both with regards to bring the right items, but also across different languages.
Any chance to support French anytime soon?
Yes, so just to bring that point home, any European language at the moment is supported out of the box. The languages we did not test are the Far East languages. So Chinese, Japanese, not at the moment, but any of the European language for sure are covered.
Yeah, what do you mean by European? Is it dependent on, isn't it dependent on the alphabet? Because we obviously in Europe have countries who do use a different alphabet.
Cyrillic.
Yeah, so Cyrillic should not be an issue. Though to be totally honest, we did not test Cyrillic.
Yeah, you're just asking, just curious.
But it should not be an issue
Okay.
for our models.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything left? Open? No. Then thank you very much for all the information you gave us and shared with us. I would have wished that we had a bigger crowd to have more questions, because like we see with all the other events, none the more questions, the more diversity in questions, but I think we had a good couple of questions anyway. So thanks again for being our guest today and giving this insight into xFind and your technology. And yeah, maybe we see each other again in a customer situation where one of our customers is trying to improve the search results. Who knows?
I hope that comes very soon, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
We're welcome.
Thank you, and nice meeting you.
Same here.
Thanks.
Thanks. See you then.
See you soon. Bye.